New reaction, former President Obama speaking out for the first time about that racist video posted, then deleted, to President Trump's Truth Social account, which depicted the Obamas as apes. Obama agreed with those who called the video a distraction, but says it also points to a deeper problem in our politics.
There's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television, and what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office.
With me now, Don Calloway, former Missouri State Representative and CEO of Pine Street Strategies, along with Democratic strategist Jenna Arnold and Republican strategist and MS Now political analyst Susan Del Percio. Welcome, guys. Good to see you again this weekend. So is that what it really boils down to, a lack of decency and respect? And how do we, as a country, get that back?
It's always great to hear from former President Obama because he has this knack for making us raise our eyes to some higher principles. And that's what he does right here. He's exactly right. Of course, it's easily to point out the disturbing and virulent racism and sexism in most of the things that come not only from this president, but from the MAGA ideology. But the reality is that this time in our politics has degraded the value of public service, such that we no longer are living in a world where we see the presidency as having the prestige and the valor and the nobility that it once did. And that's unfortunate because that will permeate our entire politics. And I think that's what former President Obama is talking about. When you lose shame and when you allow yourself and leaders to behave in these abhorrent fashions, what it ultimately does is degrades the entire nobility of the universe of public service, and it becomes this clown show. So, that's where we are, and there's a real danger from the policy that flows from a clown show mentality.
And the current rancor in the country, and I think it's interesting, and let's reflect on that.
I think it's important to recognize that the majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling. It is true that it gets attention. It's true that it's a distraction. But as I'm traveling around the country, as you're traveling around the country, you meet people. They still believe in decency, courtesy, kindness, and there's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost.
That was in response to Trump's racist AI about him and his wife, and I would say is a premier example of going high when Trump has gone very, very low. But he brings the message back to our better selves, and I still think that can really resonate with Americans who really are sick of this climate of nastiness. Maybe. I'm probably a little bit more hesitant to go there, maybe in terms of the Charles and Catherine exchange. I mean, I think a topography, as you put it, where you're running against John McCain and Mitt Romney is a different topography than you're running against Donald Trump or whoever Donald Trump's successor ends up being. I think that makes it very, very difficult. And I think probably the compromise, and I'm not a political advisor, but I think the compromise position there, the third way, if you will, is where President Obama talks about regard for the truth. Because if there is one thing that I think Americans don't like, nobody, frankly, likes to be lied to. And the fact of the matter is the government has been caught repeatedly being dishonest with the American people in recent weeks and dishonest with courts, dishonest to the point of prosecuting people for the crime of being shot, basically.
and making up factual predicates that didn't exist. And we know that because of cell phones, and we know that because of documentary evidence. And so I think that regard for truth is the portion of President Obama's remark
well,
there.
Well, and the
that
line has hurt the Trump administration so much politically. Right. They got caught in their lies. Their narrative completely collapsed surrounding Alex Preddy. And so truth, really, at the end of the day, let's hope.
And I also think that there is a way to be a positive person and talk about your hopeful vision for the future, the kinds of material changes you want to make to people's lives, while also actually still acknowledging and sometimes even channeling the anger that people do feel. Because I spent time out on the campaign trail in the lead up to the 2024 election. I still go out on the road a lot to talk to people. People are really, really angry. And I don't think they want to hear from people who are telling them that they always have to express that anger and channel that anger in some sort of perfect, like the kind of sort of decorum maybe people miss from the era where John McCain defended Obama against a racist commenter.
That's not what I hear in what he's talking about. I think he's saying we need to deliver for people and not just like...
I'm not disagreeing.
Mr. President, have you fired or disciplined that staffer who posted the video from your account that included the Obamas?
No, I haven't. That was a video on, as you know, voter fraud, and fairly long video, and they had a little piece and had to do with the Lion King. It's been very well, it's been shown all over the place long before that was posted. But that was a very strong, and I'm sure you saw it, a very strong piece on voter fraud, and the piece that you're talking about was all over the place many times.
I want to start tonight with my thoughts on a racist video shared this week by President Trump depicting former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. More than a year into his second term, Donald Trump has revealed yet again there's no limit to how low he will be willing to go. This is an image no other American president would have presented to the public. In fact, it is behavior one would expect from a president of the Confederacy, not the United States. The post was so bad, even Republicans like South Carolina Senator Tim Scott had to denounce it. But I was particularly moved by the words of House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. Take a listen.
This disgusting video posted by the so-called president was done intentionally. Donald Trump and his vile, racist, and malignant behavior. This guy is an unhinged bottom feeder. President Obama and Michelle Obama are brilliant, caring, and patriotic Americans. They represent the best of this country.
Trump's post, which has now been deleted, is especially appalling coming during the opening days of Black History Month, as his administration has gone out of its way to erase and belittle the contributions African Americans have made to the nation. It is increasingly ominous that Trump should be reaching for the oldest and most odious of racist tropes as he talks of nationalizing elections in American cities with large black populations. And it is insulting he would try and blame this pathetic post on a nameless staffer, even though it came in the late hours of the evening. If someone else is responsible for this video, they should be identified and held accountable. If Trump himself made the post, he should apologize to the Obamas and make amends. But I won't be holding my breath. I'm focused on delivering a strong rebuke to Trump's vile and racist conduct at the one place that will hurt him the most, the ballot box come November. And that's where we start Politics Nation this evening. Joining me now is the governor of the state of Maryland, Wes Moore. Thank you for...
Obama finally got his payback. For days, there had been a kind of quiet, dignified response after the awful post Donald Trump made about a week ago, comparing Michael and Barack Obama to animals. It was disgusting, even by Trump standards. Honestly, it may be one of the worst things he has ever posted. It's hard to rank because There have been so many, but it is definitely near the top of the list. And then Barack Obama, in a way that only he can, calmly and clearly put Donald Trump in his place, doing it with composure and class. That's exactly what was needed. The truth is, the Obama legacy has only grown stronger because of Trump. Obama left office with solid approval ratings as Trump was coming in. Unlike presidents such as George Walker Bush, who left office deeply unpopular, many people were already saying they missed Obama before he was even gone. He had real flaws. He didn't fully hold Wall Street accountable. The economic recovery after the financial crisis was slower than many hoped. He didn't achieve universal health care, and he even entertained Social Security cuts that made him sound more Republican than Democrat. Leaders like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren pushed back against him over that. But today, most people don't focus on those issues. Instead, many remember the presidency of Barack Obama as the last time life felt normal. And that feeling isn't limited to Americans. Even people in Canada say the same. While the years under Joe Biden felt more stable and traditional than either Trump term, it still felt like a pause, like something temporary. For many, the Obama era now represents the last true return, normal, a time that feels very distant in today's political climate.